YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here with another video, and in today's video we're going to be going over which wide receivers I think and believe will make the active roster come July training camp when it's all said and done. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, anytime I got on the Art Monk jersey, the GOAT, you know we're talking about wide receivers. I'm getting a new jersey soon, so we can get another wide receiver jersey coming here. I just don't know if I'm torn between McLaurin or AGG because I'm getting two, man. I already know I want to be different. I'm getting a Tressway jersey. He's probably the only one on this team that deserves a jersey buy, or should I say a jersey sale. So I'm getting me a Tressway jersey. I'm going to be different. Who do you know that walks around with a punter's jersey on? Besides a punter, I don't know anybody that has a Tressway jersey. Of course, there are a few, but I haven't seen one, so I'm gonna be different. Show my boy Tressway some love. Maybe if D-Hop goes off this year, as I'm talking about Dustin Hopkins, get his jersey too. Who knows, man? I'm just being different, man. You've never seen nobody showing the specialist love, so why not me start the trend? So I don't know. I'm torn between the McLaurin and the AGG. Maybe I can take y'all suggestions down below. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload a video about the NFL, or in this case, my Washington Redskins, or should I say our Washington Redskins. And last thing but not least, I did a video similar to this on the tight ends category. So make sure you guys, after this video, go check that out. Yeah, man, I did the tight ends. I'm doing wide receivers today. In the next category, I don't know what might be defense, or we'll figure it out. But you'll know from the next video. So without holding you guys any more longer, let's get straight into today's video.
What we do here is go back.
So first, we're gonna go over what are the wide receivers looking like. What is the wide receiver core looking like with everybody that we have drafted and or signed? So of course, we know we have Terry McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon, Steven Sims. You can throw Cam Sims in there. AGG, who we just drafted. And then we have Cody Lattimore, who we just picked up in free agency. And I guess you can throw Antonio Gibson in there too, but I know we're going to be using him more as a halfback. But I mean, he can obviously play both, as you guys know already. So I mean, I guess you could throw him in there, but he will be in the running back room for the majority of the time. But I mean, he plays both positions, so why not throw him in there? So of course, you know, it's gonna be a few more wide receivers that we add on for training camp, but those are the wide receivers that I thought that should be in this video as of right now. Of course, there are going to be more later on down the line as training camp gets underway and stuff like that. If it does, in fact, happen due to this pandemic going on, we don't know. It's still unknown, although they said training camp is set to start at the normal time. So, I mean, the wide receiver core is still a little. It's better. It's better for sure, but it's still a little uncertainty at that position because most of our receivers are young. The oldest I want to say is probably Cody Lattimore. Our wide receiving core is young and good, especially we know how good Terry McLaurin is. And now if he can find a counter partner in a Kelvin Harmon or AGG, I think that can make him even more special. You know what I mean? Because he's going to have all the shine this year. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that cornerbacks are going to finally start to wake up to Terry McLaurin. I mean, a lot of cornerbacks were already hip to his name last year because how dominant he was. And it wasn't like he was doing it against bum corners anyway. He was doing it against some star-studded corners in the likes of a Darius Slay, who just got paid by the bum Eagles, and the likes of a Stephon Gilmore, who won Defensive Player of the Year. He was going up against competition all year. James Bradbury for the Panthers, he was playing competition all year, so it wasn't like he was playing bum people. Kyle Fuller for the Bears, Prince of Mukamara, so he was playing talent, and he was doing great against talent. So I mean, if we could find him a counterpart, then that would just make him even more deadlier. So we already know what we have in that Terry McLaurin, so of course we're going to get him spot number 1. Number 2 is where it starts to get iffy, because I mean, I made a video on Kelvin Harmon, how he's the most underrated player on this team. I'll put it either in the cards up here or maybe in the description. Just check both of them so you can go see that video that I did on Kelvin Harmon. That's where it gets tricky. We don't know if we want Kelvin Harmon there or Antonio Gandy Golden. They just gotta fight it out for, you know, fight it out in training camp. Now I know not everybody's spot, nobody's spot is solidified under Ron Rivera's new regime. But I think the only wide receiver that really has a spot locked is a Terry McLaurin. But Kelvin Harmon and AGG is gonna have to fight it out for the number 2 spot, because wherever we go with Kelvin Harmon and or at AGG, we win, whatever. Because if we have Kelvin Harmon, he somehow beats out AGG, that's a win-win for both of us. Because why? We get a good Kelvin Harmon who we know is talented when he has the ball. Just look at his highlights from last year: 30 receptions for 365 yards. And then at AGG, who isn't going to see that much field time in his rookie year if he doesn't get the number 2 job. But he still is going to be developing behind the scenes. That's if he doesn't get the job, because who knows? He might come in here and shock a lot of people, which a lot of people was thinking that he will do with the 6'4" big body frame for 640. So I mean, who knows, man? This is just my opinion. So I have Terry McLaurin making a roster, of course, at number 1, and number 2. I just have to pick one, and I'm gonna go with. This is a tough one, man. I'm gonna go with Kelvin Harmon, only because he has the experience on the NFL level, and he did do severely well when he did get his chances, even though his chances were limited. I'm gonna go with Kelvin Harmon to be the second wide receiver to make the list. So moving on to third, more known as the slot. Of course, we already know who was going to be there. Not Stephon Gilmore. Steven Sims is going to be the third wide receiver to make the roster. So basically, the wide receiving core from last year. So 1 was Terry McLaurin, 2 was Kelvin Harmon, and 3 was Steven Sims, of course. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, what about Antonio Gibson possibly making the slot? I think we will use him in the slot a lot this year, especially under the new Air Coryell offense ran by Scott Turner. I do think that we're going to use Antonio Gibson a lot in the slot because it was Scott Turner's pick and he loved him so much. But I just think that he's going to be used more out the backfield for passing, catching ability. And for the spot, like specifically, it's going to be Steven Sims that takes that role. So he's going to be the number 3 wide receiver on my list. And what's going to be interesting to see is to see if Steven Sims is still going to have kickoff and punt return ability, because we want him to be more solidified in the slot this year. He's going to have a bigger role in the slot this year, considering the fact that he had a great season last year in the slot. So he's going to be asked to do a lot more this season in the slot. So it should be interesting to see what he does. Is he still going to be having the kickoff ability, or we're going to hand it off to Antonio Gibson, or maybe even bring someone in during training camp to just have that role itself. So it should be interesting to see what we do here at the kickoff spot, or the specialist kick return spot here. In my opinion, I think we need to go Antonio Gibson. Why? Because Steven Sims is going to be asked a lot to do in the slot this year. He's going to be more involved in the offense, if you know what I mean. And I don't want to risk injury, because we know how great Steven Sims is, or how good of a player he is, especially out of that slot, man. And he kills it in the kick return game too. Don't get me wrong. He had a touchdown in the kick return last year versus the Detroit Lions. I believe it was the Lions. And I would love to have him back there, but I just don't want him to risk it getting hurt, man, because we need him in that slot. So Steven Sims is the third wide receiver coming off my board here. So moving on to the 4th spot is where it gets tricky. I believe that the Washington Redskins will be keeping 6 receivers. So that means one person on my list that I had on my list will be getting cut. Obviously, there'll be more, but or maybe even making the practice squad. But I feel like we're gonna keep 6 receivers. So who came off the board already is obviously Terry McLaurin. Let's do a quick review. Terry McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon, and Steven Sims. So the 4th receiver on my list is none other than Antonio Gandy Golden, is who I believe that's going to make the roster here today. Antonio Gandy Golden, we got a steal of the draft. Check out that video if you haven't already. It's in the description. It's also along with the Kelvin Harmon video. I made a video on Antonio Gandy Golden, how he was the steal of the draft. So that's going to be interesting to see if he does, be the steal of the draft, how everyone is projecting him to be. Antonio Gandy Golden, man, I had have big expectations for him, man. He's just a great kid, a great player, man. You know what I mean? Not only is he talented on the field, but we already know his ability to do what he can do off the field. That dude is an athletic freak. He's very smart and intelligent. He can fix the Rubik's Cube in about 30 seconds to a minute, man. I'm still yet to do one ever in my lifetime. I don't even know how them things work, if I'm being honest. But this guy can complete one in under 30 seconds to a minute, man, which is crazy. His athletic ability is phenomenal. I love the way he climbs the ladder. I just love having a player that can have his quarterback be a safety blanket, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Just throw it up. He's going to catch it. 50-50 balls is what he says he loves the most. And what people sleeps on the most about him is his speed. This is per the horse's mouth, Antonio Gandy Golden. He just loves climbing the ladder. And why not? You're 6'4", man. Calvin Johnson type. You know what I mean? Not saying that he's going to be as good as Calvin Johnson, but I'm just talking about the body frame. I had to get that in there for all the people that come in here and says, oh, he's not going to be a Calvin Johnson, man. This guy's crazy. You know what I mean? So I had to get that in there. So with the fourth receiver coming off the board, of my board, obviously, is none other than the new draft pick, the new Washington Redskins, Antonio Gandy Golden. Now, the fifth wide receiver spot is where it gets tricky because I don't know really too many wide receivers that I think is going to make this fifth spot. It should be interesting to see where I was going to put Antonio Gibson at the fifth spot, but I just don't know if he's going to be marked down as a receiver or a halfback, although they already came out and said that he's going to be a halfback. I think they did say he's going to be marked down as a wide receiver, but he's just going to be in the backfield majority of the time. So I think I'm going to mark him down as a wide receiver. So with the fifth person coming off my board here is Antonio Gibson. I really just love what he can bring. Like I said, I know I said Antonio Gandy Golden was the steal of the draft, but a lot of people are saying Gibson is the steal of the draft. And what's funny about it is both Antonios are great friends, man. They are great friends. They love that. They had great great conversation going on during the draft combine. They came, both from I don't want to say Memphis is in a small school because it's still D1, but it's not really the biggest school of them all. So they both have that small school connection, if you know what I mean. So they really are already good friends, and for them to be on the same team together, that's just gonna make everything a lot more better. Now, what I was thinking for Antonio Gibson was having both of those guys come out the backfield together, and I'm talking about Steven Sims and Gibson at the same time. It's just going to be dangerous because you don't know which one to guard. But the only thing I can say about that is because, you can hand it off to Gibson, but more than likely, if they do come out with that kind of set with Gibson in the backfield and Steven Sims alongside him, you're going to know it's a pass. You can hand it off to Gibson because he's 6 foot, 223, and that is huge for a running back. Because, like I said in my video about Antonio Gibson, running backs don't typically come over 5'11". So he's 6 foot, small for a receiver, huge for a running back. And I had to say it twice because I wanted you guys to understand what I meant when I said huge. He's huge for a running back. Now, the last person that I have making this list is none other than Cam Sims. Cam Sims, he just hasn't been able to give his shot. And I feel bad for Cam Sims because he really had a huge catch. I forgot what game it was, but I think it was either the Jets game, Lions game, or Eagles game. One of them games towards the end of the season where he came in and made a few good plays for Dwayne Haskins. And he's just always seemed to be around there. You know what I mean? He's like a fly. I'm not gonna say annoying fly like EDP says, but he's like a fly who's always around, seems to always be around. But he just never been able to get his chance. You know what I mean? So he's like a B. I want to say, let's say a B. I know this part doesn't make sense, but he's a B who's always there but never gets to get his stinger. If you know what I mean, if that makes sense. If you know what I mean, but he's always there, but he's never been able to give his shot or his chance to prove that he belongs on his roster. So I think that he will be making the last spot. If not that, he will be on a practice squad like he's always been. And I just think that he belongs to give his shot. He deserves to get his shot to make this roster. And if that doesn't happen, maybe move him down to tight end. I'm a big fan of moving on to tight end, man. Cam Sims is 6'5". He has the athletic ability of a Jordan Reed. He can be too fast for a linebacker and too tall for a safety. So that's just a matchup nightmare right there if you guys want to go with that. So why not? Now, with that, with my 6 wide receivers off the board, I'm going to close this video with telling you who I believe is going to get cut. It should really be obvious because I didn't say his name this whole video other than the intro, and that is Cody Lattimore. I just don't think he will make the roster. I mean, he was solid for the Giants. I think we just got him as a camp body or as a trial. So it should be interesting to see how it plays out. I just don't think he's going to make the roster with how young and how solid this wide receiving core is. As always, me and boy one guy, like, comment, subscribe, hell to the Redskins. Turn on post notifications so you can notify when I upload a video about the NFL, or in this case, my Washington Redskins, or should I say our Washington Redskins. I gave you my opinion on who's going to make the wide receiver cut this year. Who do you think is going to make the wide receiver cuts? I know it's 55-man roster now, so 2 more players should be added on. I don't know if they're going to go wide receiver or another position. But let me know what you guys think down below as always. Being boy one guy, like, comment, subscribe. Hell to the Redskins. I'm out. Peace.